In this video, I'll show you how to transform any information into knowledge from a complete beginner level to an expert. And here's how we are going to do that. We're going to go through 6 levels of knowledge, referencing something that if you're into education like me, you may be acquainted with, which is Bloom's taxonomy. But instead of dabbling in the theory of it, here's what we're going to do instead. First, I'm going to describe each and every level of knowledge briefly. Then I'll give you a handful of examples. Their goal is not to be comprehensive and to nail exactly what you're into, but to give you a perspective on how all that I'm going to share may apply to what you're doing. The examples will be from medicine, fitness, design, and language learning. And then on each and every level, I will also give you tools and strategies on how to transform information into knowledge on the given level. So with that being said, let's get into it. The first level of knowledge is the level of memory, meaning that you can state, you can name, you can recognize things. You don't necessarily understand them thoroughly, and you don't necessarily know how to do things or use things, but you can recognize them. Here are examples of that. Level 1 medical knowledge would be to identify different organs, state the different steps from a procedure, or knowing what different instruments are used for. Level 1 fitness knowledge would be to have basic knowledge of exercises. For example, if someone asks you to name one aerobic exercise, you can say jogging, and you know that it's predominantly used for cardio. And if someone asks you to name one anaerobic exercise, you can say push-ups because you know that you use them to make you stronger. Level 1 of design knowledge would be to identify design elements like shapes, colors, fonts. You don't necessarily know how to use them and put these things together, but you can recognize them and identify them as elements. And level 1 in language learning would be to recognize, to know words, to be able to do fill in the blanks exercises or multiple choice tests. The strategies are pretty straightforward. 1, working on recalling information from memory, best done by testing yourself. And then 2 is having a plan for revisiting information over longer periods of time, so you facilitate it in your memory. Tools would be flashcards, questions and answers, mnemonic systems that would allow you to make those basic connections, and creating a spaced repetition system so you can track what and when you should be recalling. And for all, you can use physical or digital tools, physical being actual pen, paper, cards, and digital being all sorts of apps. And for all of these and all other levels, I'll have suggestions linked in the description below. Right, onto the second level of knowledge, and this level is the level of comprehension. This is all about understanding the things that you know and that you have in your memory remembered. The examples would be as follows. If level 1 medical knowledge is to recognize an organ or a system, level 2 would be to understand its basic functions or be able to paraphrase information from a medical text into your own words. In the context of fitness knowledge, if level 1 is understanding that push-ups make you stronger, level 2 would be to understand which muscles become stronger by doing push-ups and what exactly anaerobic means. Again, explain in your own words. In design, if level 1 is being able to recognize different elements, level 2 would be to explain the idea of design hierarchy, or to be able to explain how everything in design is based around basic shapes. And in language learning, if level 1 is recognizing words, level 2 would be to understand how to conjugate verbs or how to choose and use articles or prepositions. The tools here are all related to building your understanding about things. So being able to give examples, to describe things in your own words, to paraphrase, to give a brief summary on a high level of a given concept. Meaning that, first of all, you don't want to keep it in your head, but explain it in writing or out loud. And then diversify these explanations as well. If you're explaining it out loud, explain it to yourself, explain it to someone younger than you, explain it to someone older than you, or explain it to someone who is your age. And the more explanatory experiences you have, meaning multiple of these, the more thorough your understanding of the thing will be. Okay, knowledge level number 3. This is the level of application, meaning that the things that you know about, you also know how to do. Examples: if level 2 medical knowledge is knowing the functions of organs or the steps of a procedure, level 3 would be to perform an actual differential diagnosis. If level 2 fitness knowledge is understanding different types of exercises, understanding how to do these exercises, and level 3 is actually doing them. So understanding how to do the push-ups and actually doing the push-ups. In design, if level 2 knowledge is understanding different concepts and being able to explain them, level 3 is being able to actually apply them. Knowing how to combine colors, draw shapes, create elements, combine fonts, as well as know what tools to use and how to actually use them. And if level 2 knowledge in language learning is knowing how to conjugate verbs and how to use articles and prepositions, level 3 is actually using the language, like having a conversation, albeit a simpler one, or being able to put together a short story, maybe describing your day, or being relatively comfortable reading extensively without referencing a dictionary all the time, because you can pick up things from context. Tools and strategies here. The tools will depend on your craft, meaning apps, software, brushes, dumbbells, stationery. Sometimes you may not even need an external tool, just the will to do the thing. Now, as for strategies, here's some very specific steps. Step number 1 is to follow how someone does something and mimic what they do. Then step number 2 is to try and do the same thing, but from memory, and only checking in with your reference when you feel that you're at a hold. Then step number 3 is to do the whole thing from start to finish and checking in with your reference only when you have the final result. And then step number 4 is to do a similar but slightly different thing, following the same tools and principles that you were using previously. So you're using what you know, but in a different context now. Some questions that you may use as a guide on this level is, first, what is it that I want to be able to do? Then, how is it done? Then third, how can I do it? Answer those and you're good to go. Or rather, good to do. Now, for the next 2 levels, again, I'll give you a brief description as well as the examples, but the tools and the strategies I'll present to you together because I think it makes a little bit more sense. Knowledge level number 4 is analyzing. This is the level of knowledge where you start to gather different pieces of knowledge so you can produce even higher, greater levels of knowledge. Examples: if level 2 and 3 medical knowledge is being able to understand and make a differential diagnosis, level 4 would be your ability to differentiate between a number of different similar problems, or being able to discern a number of different solutions. If level 2 and 3 fitness knowledge represents what push-ups do for your body and how to do push-ups, level 4 is analyzing and comparing different types of push-ups. So you have narrow, wide push-ups, diamond push-ups, and how do they affect the body differently. If level 2 and 3 design knowledge represents your understanding and ability to create design elements, level 4 is your ability to analyze and compare different designs. And if knowledge levels 2 and 3 in language learning represent your understanding and ability to use a language, level 4 would be your ability to express the same thing in a number of different ways and be able to compare how these ways are similar and different to one another. Now, as I already mentioned, we're going to look into the tools and strategies in a bit. So knowledge level number 5 is evaluation. This is where you gather all the knowledge that you analyzed and you make predictions, you make conclusions, you evaluate the information, you prioritize things so you know how to approach different situations, and also later on know how to create and develop solutions. For example, level 5 medical knowledge would represent your ability to assess the severity of a condition and your ability to assess different types of information and to assess which are relevant to a case and which aren't. Then an example for level 5 fitness knowledge would be knowing what exercises to do and what exercises not to do if you want to achieve a particular goal, or how to organize exercises depending on the results that you want to achieve, meaning endurance, for example, or speed or strength. Level 5 in design would be knowing how to assess a design and give suggestions on how to change it or develop it so it serves the brand's identity better. And then an example for level 5 language learning would be your ability to assess the vocabulary and the grammatical knowledge that would be appropriate to use for different occasions, for different events. Alright, let's talk tools and strategies. Now let's talk about level number 4 first. The best tool and strategy is your ability to ask questions here. How things compare. What is better? How is it better? When is it better? And the reverse is also valid. Why something is not as good of a solution? When is it not a good solution? How is it not a good solution? Learning to ask questions is at the heart of being able to gather and to create greater knowledge. So practice asking questions. And once you have your questions, you will naturally start to have your observations, your thoughts, your ideas. And this is where we move from level number 4 to level number 5, where the strategy is to write things down and organize these things. And this is where from the strategy, we actually move to the tools as well. So things like tables, matrices, mind maps, backlinking apps, everything that would allow you to organize, to observe, and to connect the knowledge that you have. And with that, we arrive at the final level, knowledge level number 6, which is the knowledge to create. Now, at a first glance, this level looks a lot like level knowledge number 3, application. However, there's a fundamental difference between the two levels. The level of application is a lot more narrow, a lot more single-oriented, while the final level of creating brings all of your ability and knowledge together to create something beyond, something bigger. Level 6 medical knowledge may represent performing an actual operation, or putting together a treatment plan, or creating a new diagnosis to treatment process. In fitness, level 6 knowledge may represent creating a process for identifying training goals and then designing training program to achieve those goals. In design, level 6 knowledge may be creating a brand's identity or rebranding a company's image. And in language learning, level 6 knowledge may represent creating meaningful, valuable work, like creating content, writing, or presenting in front of an audience in your target language. Now, at this stage, you already have enough experience, so you know about things, you know how to do things, so the tools and strategies will vary depending on what is it that you want to create. Having said that, here's some questions to guide you as a strategy to find the right tools for the job. First and most important, what is it exactly that I want to create or do? Second, what tools I'm going to need for that? Or rather, what do different tools do for me? What do they allow me to do? Do they allow me to work faster, to create more things, or to be more precise in my work? And then from that point, the questions become, well, is there a readily available tool that would address my needs so I acquire it? Or can I make my own tools? And if yes, what would that take? Alright, well, now that you're acquainted with the different levels of knowledge, the last thing that I'd like to share with you are some additional questions that may serve you so you can start going through the different stages. First is to identify something that is important to you, that you want to be or you want to be more knowledgeable and capable of. Then ask yourself, at which level do you think you are? Then, at which level would you like to be? And finally, how would you go about it? Obviously, that's not something that you can exhaust within 1 or 2 hours of practice, but you can definitely set 15 minutes to start and see where that takes you. That being said, I'd love to know more. What are you interested in? Where are you in your journey? Let me know in the comments. I'll be definitely sharing more knowledge on knowledge, and if that's something that you're interested in and you find it useful, you can subscribe. I'll be definitely happy to have you along for the ride. And that is all I have for you for this one. Keep it bright, and I'll see you next time.